Hello, and thanks for joining us for the latest instalment of In Conversation with the Daily Record. Today, I'm joined by my usual sidekick, Anthony Evans. Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And today, we have a very special guest in the shape of Jamie McAllister. Jamie, the former Scottish international, Hearts defender, Livingston defender, Aberdeen defender, Queen of the South defender, Hibs assistant manager, and a few other clubs. Jamie, how are you?
I'm very well, Scott. How are you doing? Anthony, how are you doing?
Good, thank
you. Good, thanks.
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jamie, you're currently coaching just now, head coach out in Brunei.
Yeah, I've been out there for the last 2 years.
Tell me all about that. How did that come about, and how's that going?
It came about through a contact that I'd met on my pro licence. And when I'd left Bristol Rovers 2 summers ago, he was asking if I'd be interested in going out to Asia to be a head coach because we were looking for like a British young coach. So I gave him a CV and he sent out a few clubs out there, and 2 clubs came back, and one of them was DPMM. So I had an interview, done a presentation, had another interview, and then basically 5 days later I was on the plane to Brunei, which the wife and kids weren't too pleased about. But it was just a crazy opportunity and one I couldn't turn down, really. I played out in India and I loved that experience out there, so I thought, why not try it as a head coach. My first job as a head coach, so I'm loving it, to be fair. Loving it.
Right. What does DPMM stand for? I could read it out, but I'll probably make a backside of it, so probably better leave it to
you probably make a better job than that. I've been practicing for the last 2 years, mate. I still can't say it properly. So I'll just leave it to DPMM FC. No, it's owned by the Crown Prince of Brunei, who's obviously next in line to be the Sultan. So very wealthy family. I get to meet the Crown Prince. He comes to training every day actually and watches training, so a little bit of pressure on that. But I get to go to the palace every 5-6 weeks to go and have a chat with him about how the team's doing, and yeah, it's just a different world. It's a great experience. The first season we were in the Singapore Premier League, which was a great experience. I took over, we were bottom of the league and we'd lost like 4 in a row, and then we ended up finishing the top 6, won the last 6 games of the season, which was a really good achievement. And then the club got invited to go and play in the Malaysian Super League, which is a big step up. And we've adapted really well. We're sitting mid-table at the moment, so hopefully we can finish in the top 6, which would be a big success for our first season in the league.
Yeah, Jamie, I think I've read a few things in the last couple of years about a lot of British coaches kind of end up in different places in India. Do you think that's, like you said, is it maybe that trying to bring that sort of culture over to their football and to try and sort of develop it a lot more?
Yeah, surprising amount of British coaches and players that are out in Malaysia and Singapore. So like I said, I played out in India, which I loved. In India, I've done a lot of that recently in the last 10 years with the ISL and brought out players and coaches. But now I think Malaysia is a place to go. Some really big clubs. For instance, the team we played the last game, we lost 3-0 against the top of the league, Al Johor, JDT they're called. They're owned by the Crown Prince of Johor. And they've won 12 leagues titles in a row. They're unbeaten in like 107 games. Not lost a point in the league in the last 4 years, something like that crazy. So he pumps a lot of money in. And if you look at their facilities in their stadium, it's up there with like Tottenham's. It's top. So that's who we're competing against. So it's a big challenge.
Jamie, see Delhi, Pengiran, Muda, Makota Football Club.
Exactly what I was going to say.
But in English. What's it like? What are the facilities like out there, sort of thing, and what are the sort of ambitions? Well, obviously they've moved in the last few years.
The facilities are basic, I would say. We've tried to improve them. I've tried to improve a lot of things out there. The infrastructure, the facilities, professionalism. We've got really good staff. The staff have been at the club a long time. Actually, the general manager and the Crown Prince, they founded the club in 2000. So the club's been going 25 years, 25-year anniversary last year. But it just needs a little bit of money spent on and a little bit improvements on gym equipment, better GPS system, better recovery system. And then the playing field, the training ground where we train, is decent, but also can be improved. And we play our games at the National Stadium, so there is plans to do all of that, and it's just in time. So it's early doors yet. I've been in, but this is the second season, so who knows what they've offered me another year actually. So I'm in discussions about that, about extending my contract. So I'll see when I go back. I'm actually at home at the moment because of the international break. But when I go back, we'll discuss next year and see what's happening. But there's a few things I'd like to improve and get signed off before I do agree or we get negotiations going.
And did you have the chance to work with the national team as well, Brunei? Is that correct?
Yeah. So the first year I was there, after 6-7 games, the national head coach job was available, and they approached me to take 2 games against Macau. It was 2 qualifiers, and went in and we managed to win the 2 games comfortably, 3-0 and 1-0 I think it was, and we progressed. The first time the country qualified for the Asian Cup qualifiers, I think it was. So that was a big achievement. And then they asked me to stay on for another couple of games. They were in the process of bringing a Brazilian coach, Vinicius, who he was supposed to take the 2 games after the Macau game, and they actually wanted to keep me in charge. So I took those 2 against Timor-Leste, drew 1, lost 1, which was an incredible experience to be an international manager. So I loved it, and there might be potential in the future to do that also out there. They've currently got another Brazilian coach in, Fabio. So I work closely with him because a lot of our players are obviously part of the international setup. There's 16 of our players that play with the national team. So I'm in constant contact with him.
Good. What about in terms of tell me a bit more about the Crown Prince of Brunei then. I take it he's a big football fan and
Yeah.
likes his palace.
Yeah, he loves his football. He loves his cars as well. But no, he comes to training every day religiously. He comes every day. So we'll start training maybe 4:30, and then you hear the motorbikes coming in. He's on entourage coming in. And he's got like an executive box at the training ground. We've got like a little mini stadium, and he's got an executive box where he comes and sits. So he arrives at 5 p.m. on the dot every day, and then leaves at 6. We'll train 4:30 till maybe 6:15. So he sees the main part of training, and he's got good knowledge, good understanding about football. He loves it. Like I say, he used to play. He was a goalkeeper in his time, and he set up the club with the general manager. So I'm in constant contact with him. Like I say, I go to the Palace every 5-6 weeks to have a good chat with him for an hour or 2, which is amazing. And he's so passionate. He knows everything about all the players, watches all the games, watches all the training. So he loves it.
And just away from that, in terms of living out there, what's that been like?
It's very chilled. I mean, the temperature's obviously a lot better than what it is here in Aberdeen. It's between 30 and 34 degrees every day. So you're talking shorts and t-shirts, flip-flops. They've put me in a nice apartment, which is like in a gated community where all the foreign players and the foreign coaches kind of stay together. And we've got good facilities there. We've got like a gym, 5-a-side court, tennis courts, badminton courts, a pool, a little shop on the corner. So it's very cheap to live. As petrol's like, I think a litre of water is more expensive than a litre of petrol. So it's cheap chips. But we've got a good group of players, a good group of staff, and it's just about building on that and trying to make it more professional and try and compete in the league in the next few years in the Malaysian Super League.
How did it come about? He's going into the Malaysian Super League, and what are the ambitions for the club in that?
The club had actually been in that league previously, before they were in the Singapore Premier League. And it was actually, I think it was the Crown Prince of Johor who invited the Crown Prince of Brunei to come in, and they've agreed a 3-year contract. So for the next 3 years, we'll be in that league. And in time, they want to compete and try and challenge Johor, because Johor and Selangor have been the best 2 teams in the league for the last 10 years. Selangor are second at the moment. But Johor, the facilities and the players they sign and the quality they've got, and they're way ahead of everyone. But hopefully in time we can challenge and get to their level, get to their standard.
Good. In terms of, you were saying that your contract's up, Jamie. When is it up?
The end of May. So the only issue. They only give players and staff 1 year rolling contracts. So obviously this is my second year, and they spoke to me about 2-3 weeks ago saying that the Crown Prince was happy with what I'm doing and wants to keep me next season. So we'll start negotiations on that. It's something I'm keen to do. But obviously I'm also looking at stuff back here in the UK, and I've had a few interests over the last few months and years since I've been out here. 1 or 2 that I've knocked back. I'm always looking to get back to the UK if I can, but I do love it out there, and they've been very good to me. So I've got to explore that first, and then see what happens after that.
And in terms of, I mean, you say you obviously you've got quite a lot of coaching experience in the UK yourself. You know what I mean? Is that something long term you would like to get back to?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, being out in Asia has really opened my eyes to like what is out there, and clubs, and the size of clubs and the facilities and that, and the players that are out there. The standard is a good standard, but ultimately I'm away from my wife, my 4 kids, which is difficult. I've only been back home 2 weeks in total over the last 7 months, which is difficult. So that's a consideration. So when I go back, I'm going to talk to the club about maybe getting a 2-year contract if possible, maybe bringing my wife and 2 of my youngest kids out. That's a possibility. Or if it's a 1 year, I need to seriously consider how it works for my family and stuff. So I've loved it and it's been good, but the distance between myself, my wife, and the kids is obviously tough. But it's a job, it's a good job, and I'm very fortunate and I love it. So there's always pros and cons to every job.
Yes, but you think that, I mean, clubs looking for coaches and managers, when they see things like that on a CV, it must be, you know, because you're going out your comfort zone, you're trying something completely different, and you know, it could be a big benefit to teams that they're appointing people that have got this sort of caliber of experience and things like that.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously working with a lot of different international players and being in different countries, different languages. The last 2 years, we've had to bring a group together and working as a head coach for the first time. The last 2 years, I've been an assistant for like 9 years, under 4 or 5 different managers, which has been a great grounding and a great apprenticeship for me. I wanted to always have a go at being number one, and I've done that, and I've made mistakes. I've tried things. I've done some good things. I've learnt a lot in the last 2 years about myself and how I manage up, and how I manage staff, and how I manage a group of players, how I implement my philosophy and style, training methods, and what I want to do and what I want to see from my team. So I've learned a lot and I've loved it. So I just keep building on that experience. And whether I come back to the UK or not as like a head coach, as a first team coach, as an assistant, as an academy coach, I'm open to anything because I just love being on the grass. I love coaching and improving players. So it's been definitely beneficial. Definitely beneficial.
Have you got? How does it work, Jamie? Do you have a few foreign players, or is there a cap? And have you looked at possibly bringing any players across from the UK or Scotland?
Yeah, so in the Malaysian league, we've got a squad of 25, and within that, you can bring in a minimum of 6 international players. But at any one time, when you start the game, you've got to have 5 local players. So we've got to have 5 Bruneians start every game, and even when you're making substitutions, there must always be 5 local players in the team. So you can only play 6 internationals at one time. The first year we only had 6 international players, but this year we've got 8, which helps, and we've added 3 Malaysian players, which count as locals also. So that's helped the quality. Regarding bringing players in from UK, I've tried, but the way the club operate, there's no real scouting department, there's no real recruitment department. The general manager and the Crown Prince have a big say in that. I have a little bit of influence. I try to bring a few players over that. What they do is that they work with agents who send players in, that a lot of clubs do, and then the Crown Prince will look at them, and then he'll suggest they bring in a number of players for trial in July and a number in December. Like in December we had 18 players, and I had to pick 3 or 4 from that group, and obviously he comes to watch the training, and then we'll sit down as a staff and a group and select who we'd like to keep to sign. So it's a different process of what it is here in Europe and UK. But I've got to adapt, and I've got to respect that it's his club, and he's got a big say in that. So I'm trying to have more influence in that. And I had 1 or 2 signings that I had a bit of influence on in December, which has been good. and then just keep trying to show them different processes, how it works in the UK, and try and build the staff that we need and build the infrastructure to accommodate scouting and recruitment, which is something that they're keen to do. They want to improve, they want to get better, they want to be more professional. And it's up to me to keep driving those standards and keep putting processes in place that we do in Europe to help them progress and improve. So it's a big job, but we've made some good steps in the last couple of years, so hopefully we can keep moving forward.
Yeah. Just on the local players rule, and I'm sure you're aware as well, there's been a lot of talk in the Scottish Premiership the last few years about the lack of young players getting regular minutes. It's a hypothetical question with the it probably would never happen really, but could you see a similar rule like that coming in Scotland? Because it probably would, it really would force clubs, despite their expectations of fighting relegation, but you'd have to keep going with it and keep giving these young guys a chance.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It happened in India when I was out there. It was the same kind of ruling, and I think to implement that in Scotland would be brilliant. Like you say, we want to see young Scottish players coming through, and there is some real talent in the country and down south that should be playing more. And I think if we do put it across the board, that it must be, say, 3 Scottish-based players starting in every team in Scotland when they play, or have 5, 2 on the bench, three starting at all times. I think that would be huge. And I think for the national team also, moving forward, would be excellent. It's good to see, like Steve Clarke, put a few young players in, like Lennon Miller and that. It's good to see that. And then you just need game time. Like Lennon Miller's a perfect example. He's shown at Motherwell that when given game time and given, even playing poorly or playing well, given that time to develop and improve and get a run of games, he's showing what a quality player is. Gets a good move. Now establishing himself over there as a starter. So I think the players just need opportunity, and I think that rule would definitely help if it was like 3 starters and maybe 2 on the bench, or even 3 in any squad really on the bench or starting would be a start. I think it would be excellent for our game and our national team.
Jamie, you touched on the national team there. This week we've got a couple of friendlies coming up against Japan and the Ivory Coast. A few eyebrows were raised that there weren't maybe more new faces in the squad. Obviously, it would be in friendlies to try and experiment. Young Finlay Curtis is the only really new name in this squad. But I mean, you got your Scotland cap in similar circumstances, didn't you? Was it a friendly against Trinidad and Tobago?
It was, yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, that was unbelievable. I loved that. It was something you dream of as a boy, to represent your country, and I was fortunate enough to do it. I've been in a lot of squads, maybe 10, 11 squads over my career, and to play in that game, to play 90 minutes was special. I've been on the bench a few other big games as well, but that was the one and only cap I've got, and no one can take that away from me, so I'm fortunate about that. But it's good to see like Finlay Curtis and Lennon Miller and a few other players get an opportunity. Like you say, Steve Clarke has been in the job, I think 6, 7 years now. He's done an incredible job, and I hope we extend his contract beyond the World Cup, because I think he's been brilliant. He's such a calming influence, and tactically I think he's excellent as well, top coach. And obviously bringing Stephen Naismith in as assistant now, young enthusiastic coach who's done well. But going back to the squad, I think he's kept faith in a lot of players that have brought success over the last couple of years to get to the World Cup and to get the Euros and that as well, what he's achieved as a manager. And then the players that have done that, I think he's shown a bit of loyalty, but also I think he will freshen it up, and I think he'll give a few boys an opportunity against Japan and Ivory Coast. And who knows, in the summer, down to injury and form, there might be 1 or 2 surprises coming to the World Cup as well. So I'm sure he's open to that. He's an experienced manager, and I don't think he would close the door on anyone, really. I'm sure he's always looking at the games and watching. So hopefully give us the best chance to go and beat Haiti and Morocco. And I mean, Brazil's a given, isn't it?
As always. As long as we can score on the right end this time.
Aye.
In terms of, I mean, obviously you still keep a close eye on football back home. Young Ruben, he's at Cove Rangers just now, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I went to the game on Saturday. Yeah, he came on last 15. Yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah,
doing all right. It's obviously I know Paul. I played with Paul at Bristol City and Hearts for a couple of years, so he wanted to take him in, and he started off really well, played a lot of games, a few goals and assists, and then he's been in and out recently. He's only 19, but it's all part of the journey. He's got to learn, and he's got a good grounding with being at Bristol City Academy for 8 years, and then went to Hibs with a great experience there. Made his debut in Europe, had opportunities there, and he's been in some good loans. He went to Forfar, Kelty, Cove, and I think he's got about 60 games now in league football, which is, I keep saying to him, as a 19-year-old, if you can get 100 games by the time you're 21 in league football, you got a great chance of having a career at whatever level in the game, because playing games is the best way to learn the game for me. And to play that in league football, men's football, for him the last couple of years, 17, 18, 19 now, to get 60 games under his belt is brilliant. So he's frustrated. He wants to play every minute, which is good. So he's hungry. He's very professional. He's very dedicated. And for me, what you put in, is usually what you get out. So I keep saying that to him, and he's a top pro, and he's a very good player. I'm not being biased. He's 10 times, 100 times the player I ever was, and it's just about mindset and now desire and drive to keep going.
Good. In terms of, I take it you still keep a close eye on your former teams back home as well?
I do, yeah. So when I can, I get to a few games. Obviously, Aberdeen at the moment. I'm staying up in Aberdeen. I'm staying in Stonehaven. We moved back here 3 years ago, so I keep a close eye on them. And I think it's great they brought in Steve Robinson. I think it should have happened about 2 or 3 months ago. The job he done at St Mirren and his knowledge of the Scottish League, I think it'd be brilliant for Aberdeen coming in. Obviously, in a difficult position at the moment. I think they're sitting 9th, only 3 points off St Mirren and Kelly. And I think they're away to St Mirren this after that national game. So it's going to be tough, but I'm sure Stephen Robinson's got enough experience to keep them safe. And then I think recruitment's a big one at Aberdeen at the moment. I think when the summer comes and he gets a chance to kind of reshuffle the cards and change a few players, I think he will make good signings and improve the team. Also, looking at Livingston as well, my previous team is also there at the bottom of the league, and they brought in obviously Marvin Bartley after David stepped upstairs. But I'm sure he came in. I think he got 4 draws in a row or something. But they lost it against.
Aye, yeah, either a run of draws there. Just kind of turn them into wins.
Yeah, they lose against Kelly at the weekend.
Yep.
So that was a big one. So they're kind of 12 points adrift. I think they'll struggle to stay up. But then looking at my old team, Hearts as well, under Derek McInnes. It's incredible, and it's great to see the league so competitive this year. Also, I keep a close eye on it when I'm over there. I'm always watching the games and the highlights, and watch a lot of the shows, Open Goal and stuff like that. So I'm always keeping track of things. But the job that Derek's done there with staff and the players and the recruitment has been impressive. And it's good to see, like Motherwell as well, what they're doing. I mean, a lot of people speak about Motherwell and the style, but I think the top 5 has been excellent.
Yeah, just on McInnes, obviously it didn't work out too well for him at Bristol City, but I guess you're not too surprised with the sort of longevity he's had with obviously that long spell with Aberdeen and now Hearts fighting for the title.
Yeah, obviously I worked with Derek at Bristol City. He was my manager at Bristol City, and it was tough for him when he was there. It's a kind of transition period, I think, and he's done an okay job, but I think what he's done at Aberdeen, Kelly, and Hearts shows the qualities and what he's got as a manager. I think he's good at assembling squads, brings in good players with good work ethic, and I think how he assembles teams, and then the way he plays, like everyone talks about style, philosophy and stuff like that, but it's about winning games. And at Aberdeen, over the 9 years, he was very successful. I think it was 8, 9 years he was there. And then going and doing what he'd done at Kelly, getting him into Europe and stuff, and then now with Hearts, he's shown his quality as a manager. And I think he's got potential to be the next Scotland manager if Steve Clarke doesn't sign a new contract. I think that he would be way up there, probably in the top 3 for what he's done. And it'll be interesting to see the last 8, 9 games of the season, how it goes. But to have them still sitting top of the league is incredible. Right,
come off that fence. Are they going to win
it? Before the weekend, I was saying no, and I was tipping Celtic. But after watching Celtic against Dundee United, I watched the Rangers game against Aberdeen as well. I think it's going to be close. I think there's loads of twists and turns to come. The only thing I would say, I would back Celtic just because the group of players they've got, the experience they've got, have been there in that position when it comes to the crunch and the big games. That's probably my heart, really, my head, right enough. But no, I think it's going to be close. I think the tops, when it goes to the split, anyone can beat anyone. Hibs and Motherwell are going to have a big say in it. Falkirk also are a good side. So I'm sure there's a few more twists and turns to come. I'm going to stick with Celtic. But I mean, when we were at Hearts, the second season I was there, we were lucky enough to finish second, and we won the Scottish Cup, which was a great season. So I'm sure with the experience Derek's got and the players' belief now will be there. At the start of the season, I'm sure they were thinking, are we good enough to sustain this? But now, beating Celtic, beating Rangers, still sitting top, basically 3/4 of the way through the league, they've got belief and confidence now, and it's it'll be interesting, really interesting. So
yeah, just on sorry, Scott, just on Aberdeen as well. With obviously your first season there was a kind of similar, well, not so bad in terms of they finished bottom of the league, and you're fortunate to avoid the relegation playoff for the Falkirk situation. But just how hard is it to kind of get out of that rut when nothing's going your way and the fans are on your back and things like that? It must be a real difficult time for the players right now.
It is really difficult. It is tough, but you just got to get back to basics. I mean, we brought when I was at Aberdeen the first season, Ebbe Skovdahl came in, and at that time everyone was playing basic 4-4-2, and Ebbe came in and changed it and went 4-3-3, and everyone's thinking 4-3-3, what's that? So I think it was the first 8-9 games we hadn't won a game, and then we played Motherwell away, and we ended up winning 6-5. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday night at Fir Park. We had like Andy Gorman goals for Motherwell, Jim Leighton goals for Aberdeen. I think Robbie Winter scored a hat-trick for us, and John Spencer scored a hat-trick for Motherwell, and they finished 6-5 against like two of the best Scotland keepers ever. Do you know what I mean? And that was the first win of the season. And then we got to the 2 cup finals. We got to the League Cup final, and then we got to the Scottish Cup final, but finished bottom of the league. So there's a few things that season that we were adjusting to the shape, formation, obviously the foreign coach. But the cup was a good distraction. But we're fortunate, obviously, like you say, with the Falkirk situation, we stayed up. But in any team, you go through ups and downs, and I'm a big believer in doing the basics, doing the fundamentals, and that's what gives you the base to then build on. And then you're looking for your quality in the team then at the top end of the pitch to win your games. And Hearts have definitely got that. Aberdeen, I think they're lacking a wee bit at the top end of the pitch, and they're conceding too many goals. So I'm sure Steve Robson will go in there and make them organised and hard to beat. I'm saying that after they've lost 4-1 to Rangers, and I watched how they defended. But no, I think given time, he will, like his St Mirren team over the years and what they achieved, top 6 finishes and winning the cup, and that they were very organised, hard to beat, more of a counter-attack team. But I think you'll see that develop over time with Stephen Robinson at Aberdeen, and I think he'll make big improvements at the club.
What was it like playing under Ebbe Skovdahl? Because I mean, he was a bit of a character. He was different. You know what I mean? He used to walk in the manager's room and you couldn't see him for smoke. There was a bottle of whiskey sometimes as well. What was it like? Any stories from under Ebbe?
I've got loads of stories. We loved him. We were quite a young group with some great experienced players in the dressing room. We like Ian Jess, Derek White, Robbie Winters, Dowser, Paul Bernard, and it was like myself, Derek Dan Young, Darren Mackey, Kevin McNaughton, Precy. There was some great characters in the squad, and the gaffer was like Ebbe was like a kind of grandfather figure at the time, and he was just obviously different in language. He came out with some great quotes. I'm sure you've heard the quotes over the years, but it was priceless. I mean, we used to have like a table in the dressing room at Pittodrie, but we used to get changed at Pittodrie, the first team dressing room, and the table would have like a cream cloth top, and after each meeting we'd come out and like write one of the gaffer's quotes on it. So we'd be in the meeting before the game, and we might be playing Rangers, and he'd say to Darren Mackey, you know, you're playing against Arthur Newman. He is the Dutchman from Holland. You know what I mean? So like stuff like that. So we came in and write the board. And then he said to me, McAllister, you play against Kanchelski. And I'm like, yeah, Kanchelski. He's very fast. And I said, yeah, Gaffer, yeah, I know. And he says, he's as fast as a sack of cheetahs. Fast as a sack of cheetahs. All right, Gaffer. No. So we're running right up on the board. But he was brilliant. Like, even, for example, at the time, when it was someone's birthday, he used to bring in, like, so say it was my birthday, I bring in like 2 bottles of champagne, and you bring little polystyrene cups and put them on the table, and then you bring one of the big Costco cakes. Remember the big ones, like they were huge, like a meter long by fucking meter wide, like for a tenner. So after training, we came in, and the boys would have a little glass of champagne, like just a sip from one of the polystyrene cups, and a bit of cake, and just sing happy birthday, whatever. But the gaffer always knew when it was someone's birthday, so he would come in the dressing room, and he'd go, he'd pick up the champagne and go, "Ah, Scott, your birthday today." And he'd put the champagne in the polystyrene cup just a little bit and go, I like, and turn and just walk out the dressing room. But he'd have a full bottle of champagne in a polystyrene cup and just walk into his office. And the lads are like, they just sit and tan the bottle in his office, I think. He was brilliant. He was such a good character. We loved him. We loved him. Training was good. It was fun. Yeah, I've got loads of stories, honestly. Loads of stories. And Tommy Molyneux, his assistant, was like top man as well. Tommy was like really close with the boys, like funny, good coach. He was top man as well. So Ebbe was clever in bringing him in because I think Tommy worked at Rangers previously, so knew about the Scottish game, and Tommy used to put on his fake Scottish accent as well, which is funny. No, good times. I love my time at Aberdeen. The 4 years there it was special, really good.
In terms of stories, then, what have you got from the Vladimir Romanov time? You spoke about that second season because obviously under George Burley, you started like a house on fire. Do you look back on that as an opportunity missed? I know you won this. I know you finished second, then you won the Scottish Cup, but could that season have offered so much more?
Definitely. George was brilliant. When he came in the summer, he just instilled that belief that we could go and challenge. And the first meeting he had, I don't know if you've heard this before from like maybe Stephen Presley, Paul Hartley, or Robbie, or someone, or Craig Gordon maybe said. But the first meeting we had over at Herrick Walk was, he had us in the meeting basically asking everyone where we would think we'd finish this year in the league. And a lot of the boys were putting like third, fourth, or whatever, qualify for Europe kind of thing. And George said, "What about first?" And everyone's like, "Really?" And then from that meeting, he just instilled belief, confidence, and then as a coach, as a man, he was brilliant. And then the way we started, the first 9 games, top of the league, I think we're 5 points clear of Celtic at that point. Was amazing. And we had a really good group of players, some good foreign players, and then some great Scottish lads in the team as well. So Andy Webster, Stephen Presley, Paul Hartley, and Craig Gordon, and then like Rudy Scatchell and stuff. So we had a really good balance in the squad and a really good group. And we thought we could go and achieve something. And then obviously Romanov decides to sack George, and then went crazy from then on in with managers and coaches and stuff. But the group of players, I would say, achieved what they did that year through sticking together and kind of not going against Romanov, but it kind of brought us together. Do you know what I mean? More unity with us in the group, saying we can achieve something no matter who the coach or manager is, with the quality we had in the squad and the experience we had in the squad. And I mean, finishing second and winning the Scottish Cup was brilliant. But I think if George had stayed, I think we could have went that step further, because he was top coach.
There was that good BBC documentary, I don't know if it's radio series about that sort of Romanov era. So we've heard some stories, but have you got any more? Was he a kind of, did the players kind of mix with him much at all? I've seen some videos. I think there was a famous one with one, he was playing basketball or one of the players, but I'm sure you've got some crazy stories as well.
I've not got so many. Just what was happening with the staff he was bringing in and changing managers and stuff like that. I never really had any real interaction with him. I seen Paul Hartley did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about a few stories, but that was after I'd left. So he'd come to games and stuff like that, and he would come to. So if we have a pre-match at say Dalmahoy, he would come, and then one of the times, I think it was just before George left, George had named the team, or it might have been, was it Graham Ricks? I can't remember. One of the managers had named the team on the Friday, and we were having pre-match at Dalmahoy, and Romanov came to pre-match, so like chatting to the players, and then at the end of the meal, he kind of left, and then the gaffer at the time, I'm sure it was Graham Ricks, said, "Lads, look, there's been a change in the team. The owners just changed like three starters on the bench and 3 people on the bench coming in." So that was mad. Like stuff like that used to happen quite regular. I remember we played against we beat Aberdeen in the cup, I think 3-0 on a Saturday. And we're playing, I think it was United away on a Tuesday night. So we trained on a Monday, and the gaffer basically said, same team as Saturday, but go again. The boys have started to do a recovery, the rest of the lads are going to do a bit more. And then halfway through training, he gets a call and he had to go upstairs. Comes back down, said, "Lads, look, there's going to be a few changes to Tuesday night." So, like, mad stuff like that, but not really on Romanov as such. I never really had much interaction with him. So, but there's a few other ones in there about the staff and that. So, crazy times, but that is football, and that's how we love it. That's why we love it.
You obviously, we spoke about Hearts there, doing well sort of thing, but I mean, you obviously were assistant manager to Lee Johnson at Hibs as well, and Hearts' success will have an impact on the opposite side, end of the capital, won't it?
It will indeed, yeah, big rivalry. David Gray is doing a good job there at Hibs, and that rivalry is special, and I got a taste of that again as assistant when I went to Hibs. The derby games were brilliant, and that rivalry is it's special. When I played in it, I loved it, and then fortunate enough to be a coach in it as well. It's intimidating going to Tynecastle when you're sitting on that bench as a coach, and you got the love behind you.
Yeah. Lee Johnson was one that he's also had a few funny quotes himself. Maybe kind of misunderstood by some fans. But what's he been like to work with? Obviously, at a few different clubs as well.
Yeah, obviously, I met Lee when he came to Hearts. Both we played Hearts together, and then I got moved to Bristol City because obviously Dad was there. His dad came a few games, and he wanted to sign me at Bristol. So then Lee came there. So I played with Lee for a good 7-8 years, and then when I finished playing, he was obviously a manager at Bristol and brought me in as the 23s coach for a year, and then I stepped up as assistant. So I've worked with Lee for 7-8 years, 7 years, I think, as assistant at Bristol City, Sunderland, and Hibs. And he's a top coach, very good coach, great knowledge. And some of the quotes, I know, like, it's just how he is. It's just how he is, and you got to take it with a pinch of salt sometimes to what he says. And some people say he tries to be too clever at times and stuff like that, but he means well, and like, I know him really well, and I got on really well with him. I still speak to him now. I spoke to him last week, actually. He's over in Lommel, and he's assistant Robbie Nielsen. How mad's that? Speak to Robbie and Lee quite a bit, so I keep in touch with them. Both good friends, and they're doing a good job out there at Lommel, in the top 4 now in the playoffs. So hopefully they can progress to the playoffs there.
And a shameless plug for Daily Records in Conversation. We've of course spoke to Robbie Nielsen last week, and that's still available on YouTube.
If anyone wants to watch that before they go to bed.
Yep.
I'll pass your regards on to Robbie. I'll pass your regards on to Robbie.
10 or 12 episodes, 5 minutes a time.
No, in terms, Jimmy, just come back to Hibs. When obviously had a few seasons there with Lee. How do you sum that up? Was it a series of, was it a sense of frustration, sort of how it finished or how it went, sort of thing? What was your feelings?
I think it was a sense of frustration because I think we'd done a really good job. We finished, I mean, if we'd beat Hearts on the last day, I think we'd have finished 4th. Obviously, we qualified for Europe. We've done well in Europe. The first season, I would say, what probably cost us as coaching staff was the recruitment side of it. We signed too many foreigners too soon, and it was hard for them to settle and adjust. Obviously, made some mistakes with the signings, but made some really good signings also. But the objective for the first season was to finish in the top 5 and qualify for Europe, and we've done that. And we're like 1 game away. If we'd have beat Hearts on the last day, I think we'd have finished 4th. So then, getting to the start of the second season, made some good signings. And it was a tough start because obviously we played the European games, progressed for the first one against Tynecastle, then played Luzerne, beat them, and then played against Villa, which was always going to be tough. You look how they've done that season moving forward and how they've done since. The quality of players they had, the manager they got is top class. I think he's one of the best in the world, Unai Emery. But the start didn't help us. I think we lost to St Mirren, Motherwell, and Livingston, maybe the first 3 league games, which cost us really. And in all those games were tight, and we were still playing in Europe on a Thursday night. So I think given time, we would have done well and would have probably finished in the top 4 or 5 again that season. But like, you know, in football, you don't get given time and result business. I think it was harsh that they made the change and get rid of Lee and myself after the first 3 league games. Because I think we were building a good group of players. It was a tough European game against Villa at home. They beat us 5-0. Ollie Watkins, a little shit who I played with, fucking scored a hat-trick against us. Excuse my language. But I managed to get his top that night from my boy. Anyway, like, no, I just think that the 3 league games that we lost, no disrespect, but to Livingston, St Mirren and Motherwell, I think it was, that probably cost us. But I think given time, we would have been a real success there. But that's the nature of the game.
You spoke about recruitment now, and you
Yeah.
said you had too many foreign players. Did that come from yourselves, or did that come from above? Because always there's a lot of stories that the hierarchy and maybe Ian Gordon himself were getting involved in transfers. With a lot of the foreign transfers from out with?
It's a good question, that, Scott. And you know, I can't be really honest on that, don't you? I think it's a mixture of both. It's obviously we've got to take responsibility for the players that are signed and whatever the process is, the process is. But I think that's probably a big thing that maybe cost us, was that we signed too many foreigners in that window. But it didn't stop us being successful and achieving what the objective was to finish in the top 5 and get European football, which we've done. I think any club and every club, recruitment and the process is different. You look even now at the top level, as head of recruitment, head of football and directors of football now have a big say in recruitment, and the managers are just put into coach and get the best that the players got available. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you just need to accept what the club is doing, understand what they're doing, try and influence it if you can. And I'm sure a lot of managers do have a lot of say in it. But now the way the game's going, I think they're having less and less of a say in recruitment. I mean, the data they've got now, I mean, look at Hearts, how they use and what they use there, has a big say in who they sign. I'm sure Derek still has sign off on it, but the players that are brought to him through the data is huge enough.
Good. Jamie, see when you look back in your playing career, what were the standout? What were the highlights for you?
I mean, I loved every team I was at, and I've got highlights from every club I was at. I think like any player, is like winning things. You want to, as a player, you play the game to play games and to win things. And I think winning the trophy at Livingston was special. Winning the Scottish Cup at Hearts, the one I ever played in the final, I had a part, and I scored 1 or 2 goals in the way to the final. Just don't laugh at that, mate. I know I didn't score, mate, all right, but no. So I think winning things is huge. So getting promotion with Bristol City, getting a Scotland cap, winning a cup with Livy, getting promotion with Yeovil, getting to cup finals and stuff like that. I think that's why you play the game, to get to the latter stages, to compete, to get in Europe, to play in cup finals. Fortunate to play in Europe with Aberdeen, Hearts, and even coaching in Europe as well, and winning a cup at Sunderland as well as a coach and stuff. So I think all the achievements like that, when you get to European stages and when you get to cup finals and promotions and stuff like that, that's why you play the game. So.
And on the flip side, I guess, good Bristol City team you had then. I guess losing that playoff final at Wembley as well must be still a sore one.
That's the biggest one for me. You're 90 minutes away from playing in the Premier League. A dream to play in the Premier League, and then on the day it just wasn't meant to be. I mean, even the night before, with the 3 or 4 players that pulled out with illness, there was loads of stuff happening on the day of the game. Hull defended brilliant. We'd shots cleared off the line, one-on-ones missed, good opportunities, and then Windass scores that goal, and it was as if it was just written. But to play in front of 86,000 at Wembley in the Championship playoff final, for me, was incredible. But not to get through it and get up was heartbreaking. So yeah, it's been probably the biggest disappointment. Losing that game. I mean, to get to that game was phenomenal for us as a group of players, because we only got promoted the year before from League One into the Championship, and then we finished 4th that year and then got to the playoff final. But to miss out was devastating, really.
Obviously, you spoke about your highlights. I know you've not got a crystal ball, but what are your ambitions wise in terms of being a head coach and manager in the long term?
I think long term would be to try and manage or coach at the highest level, which for me is the Premier League, whether that be as a head coach, assistant, first team coach, whatever it may be. I never managed as a player to get to the Premier League. I was so close, but to try and coach or manage in the Premier League would be one of my ambitions, one of my dreams. Yeah.
Just on Bristol City again, I thought we'd ask as well, with Ross McCrory back in the Scotland squad. He had obviously had a difficult start to when he joined the club there with that kind of freak injury, but it must be delighted to see him getting back and playing regularly, and getting back in the squad with the World Cup just coming up.
Yeah, I think he's adding goals to his game as well. He's had a few important goals, and I really fancy Bristol City this year to go and challenge in the top 6 and get in the playoffs, but they've kind of fell away the last 7 or 8 games. I think they've dropped down to like 16th now and 12 points off Southampton, or 6, I think, in the champ. And Gerard Struber has, I think he's got a few injuries at the moment, but I think McCrory's been excellent when he's played. He can play different positions, and like I say, he's added goals to his game. And I think he'd be a big part of the Scotland squad for the World Cup if he's selected. So it's good to see him go down there and do well. Like you say, he struggled a little bit with the injury at the start, but now he's kind of mainstay in the team when he's fit and available. And he's a big part of their attacking play, driving forward and using his power and his athleticism, getting forward. His crosses, obviously adding goals as well now. So I hope Bristol City can have a little push towards the end. Tough game against Leicester the next time they play. Leicester obviously fighting to kind of stay up. So difficult fixture, but hopefully can go on a little run of games now and kind of try and push into that top 6. But it'll be difficult now if I think it is 12 points between them and Southampton, who are 6th.
Interesting times, Jamie. That's brilliant.
For me, Bristol City is a Premiership club. Sorry, Scott, to interrupt you there. But
no, they're a Premier League club, but I mean, as big as Sunderland. Obviously, you were there as well, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I loved it at Sunderland. I mean, that was amazing. It's great to see what they're doing in the Premier League, and that should have been us, really. But again, that's football. No, Bristol City, the infrastructure there, what Steve Lansdowne created with the training ground, the stadium, the money he pumps in every year. Been so close a few times, but the city as well. It's a huge city, great city. Really special times down there. That was second home for us as a family. My 3 girls were born down there. We stayed there for 16 years. Love it. And it'd be great to see Bristol City in the Premier League. And I'm sure in the next, I want to say the next 3-5 years, I think Bristol City will be in the Premier League. There you go.
Interesting times. Well, hopefully in the not so distant future, you can get a crack at the English Premier League as well, or the Scottish Premier League, whatever order.
Yeah, either or, mate. I'd be more than happy to have a bash at it again.
Jamie, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. All the best in Brunei. Hopefully your contract negotiations go well. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us a real insight to your coaching career.
Thanks a lot, Jamie.
Cheers, Anthony. Cheers, Scott. Thanks for that, mate.
Thanks. All the best. Thanks for joining us. And
I'll put a link to where you get the shirt online, mate. All right, just put a little link to the shirt if you want.
That's obviously part of the Daily Record sponsorship there. He did. Jamie cracked off there that it was a camouflage shot, so I don't think you'll be able to see it. But thanks for that. So for all the latest sport news, join us at dailyrecord.co.uk. Until the next time, thank you for joining us and have a good night. All the best.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Mac.